You can hear me all right?
Yeah, man.
Beautiful. Righto.
Here we are.
My mother asked me to ask you if you'd like to join us for dinner.
Why?
I was hoping you'd know.
Yeah, she's yeah, well, as you know, she fucking saved me, man. Helped me out a lot, eh?
Yeah.
Oh dear. You don't have to chuck your headphones on, I do, because it, I don't know, it makes me focus more. Get involved.
I'll do if I can, I'll just...
You can move them or adjust. Oh, you should. If I get this going. Somehow. Rightio. Just, yeah, that should be pretty sweet there. Beautiful. You can hear me all right?
Yep. Can you hear me? It's not too weird voice?
It's not too weird, mate. You're not the weirdest voice I've had on here.
I hate my voice. Even when I listen back on my message bank, is like, geez, he's got a weird sounding voice.
I don't think anyone really likes the sound of their voice. Funnily enough, with stuff like voices and your appearance, I read somewhere that if you were to see like exactly you walking down the street, you wouldn't recognise yourself.
Wow.
Which is a fucking blowout. Like,
probably right.
But it's one of those things I feel like it's it probably is right, but then like you can't test the theory, you know? Like but yeah, so I think everyone's really, really super critical of their voice. And the same with like I don't listen to any of this stuff back. Yeah. I listened to like the first one, maybe 2 episodes, just to sort of get my head around it all and all of that. But then after that I was like, yeah, no, it's just too painful.
Yeah, exactly.
And same with videos and stuff, that didn't last long. It's just, yeah. But anywho. But, right, so Damian, thank you. We've got Damian today. Thank you for coming down.
No, thank you for having me.
It's, first off, thank you to all the ones on Patreon. They are the ones that, are paying for me to do this, I suppose. So if you're listening to this on something that's not Patreon, you're a few episodes behind. Which is all good, but thank you to the ones that are. So, yeah, Damian, I suppose a bit of introduction first. I suppose we met each other. You built a house down the road, I suppose, originally, and now you employ my young fella.
Yep, it's going well.
Yeah. So, yeah, I suppose that's how we know each other. And then you've got a bit of a story to tell, which you reached out to me about, which I feel very like, when I read your email, man, I was like, it was very, I don't know, I feel like it's a bit of an honour, like, you know, when for someone's like, I've got a story to tell and that you like trust it to do it with me sort of thing. It's like.
Yeah, well, I don't know, I can just see, I suppose, I also watch your videos, listen to your stuff. There's not many people that take in everyday run-of-the-mill people. There's some podcasts that are out there that the elite professionals are telling their stories, but I don't know, at least yourself, you just want normal human beings, and that's what I would say 99% of the world is. So
I agree. I think it's I don't know. I think that like the ones, the big podcasters and the big stories and stuff they hear are cool, but I think there's more entertainment in like everyone's got a story.
Oh, of course they do.
And a lot of people like write off their own story, and like, you know, how you were saying you hate the sound of your own voice. Some people think, oh, my story is not worth telling, and it's not going to be, but which is, I don't think it could be further from the truth. Like every single, and now even so, since I've been doing this, like people walk down the street and I'm sitting on my digger somewhere waiting for like a plumber or a builder or something, and I find myself just watching people and thinking like where are you going, and what's
happened to you
today? Which is weird. It's something that's only been happening since I've been sober, but so anyway, I appreciate you trusting my platform, so to speak, to come on.
No, for sure.
So give us a bit of a rundown anyway. I suppose we'll start somewhere and we'll fumble away and find our way through it. But I messaged your wife, Lauren. Did she tell you that?
Yeah.
So I generally just put down a few prompt questions and a bit of a background and whatnot. So I figured she'd be a good one. So I've got a bit of stuff from her. But do you want to start the ball rolling?
Yeah, well, I suppose the biggest thing for me is obviously what I'm about to talk about is took a long time for me to actually want to talk about it, because I was so worried and scared of what people would think. And to be honest, I've been dealing with what I've had since I'm age 5. I'm 33 now, so what's that, 22 years. And I reckon it's probably the last 5 years I got to the point where, to be honest, I couldn't care what people thought.
It's nice when you get like that, isn't it?
And if someone was to judge, I was like, sure, I don't care. I don't need to deal myself with you.
Yeah.
But yeah, my sort of story is probably in the world of the mental health background, and I think is probably a disease that's still, I would call it a disease that is still not recognised enough, and still not, what's the word? Like, my biggest thing is, got a broken arm. Anyone can see you've got a broken arm. Where people with severe, or in my case, I've been told I have acute mental health that will never be solved, and I'll have till the day that I die, is the people that have it are so good at masking it, you would, unless they had the balls to tell you about it, you wouldn't even know. And that's the sort of thing that I got a lot when I was a kid. Sorry, I should just cut to the chase.
You're right, man.
My story today is about my mental health and how I progressed from a young child to dealing with that, and to getting to where I am today. And I suppose having a wife and a family, and also having a business. I would never thought that I would ever get there.
Because I look at you with a fair bit of admiration. Like you're like pretty really successful. I would. Do you think do you look at yourself like that?
No, I've never been able to self-reflect in a positive way, and I think because
even now,
wow. I still don't believe what I have done, because and once I go through some things and what's happened, it's just the dealing mechanism. I think if you ever get ahead, or if you think and you feel like you've done a good job with mental health, you feel like that you are above everyone else. Where I suppose if you don't self-criticise yourself and want to get better, especially in the mental health space, I feel it will get worse before it gets better.
But do you think you can sort of do both, though? Like, do you think there's a happy medium? I agree somewhat with what you're saying, but do you think that there is, that there's a happy medium to go, well, that you've been told that it's something you're going to deal with for life and you're going to struggle with this and that, but then to still be able to go, like, if anything, it should make you I would think it'd be able to make you appreciate the wins and stuff you have more, to go, well, this mental health problem that it's never going to go away, and it's going to, be hard in life, but I still managed to achieve that. Like, you've been able to do it with things being harder for you, you know what I mean? Like, it's more of an achievement.
Yeah, yes, I do, but I do understand what you're saying. But the hardest thing, I suppose, with someone who lives with a constant illness is if you take the little wins, like I find it from my life, coping is a constant coping mechanism. Is I have lost all emotional thoughts. I don't get emotional a lot. I reckon my kids and my wife have seen me cry twice.
Yeah, shit.
And that's just because. And I even said this to my psychiatrist the other day. I said, why can't I feel emotions? And he said, because you're constantly dealing with what you have, and you're constantly getting prepared for what your next step is. And the mechanism of coping is, if you let your guard down, your mind is coping, and it won't let you process what has happened. You may fall back into the trap. So that's why I'm constantly thinking, I'm constantly moving. I can't sit still. And that is probably why I have a business, is because if I worked at Woolworths as a checkout chick, my mind would stop. And when your mind stops with a mental health illness, you start thinking about stuff. So I went from going through that battle to thinking, right, I need to keep busy. And to this day, my wife will still say, you can never sit still. But that's what I've been told is a coping mechanism.
That would have made it, I imagine, that would make it really hard to you to get to the stage of having a wife, like to have relationships and stuff, like to not feel, and that, has that made it hard?
In what aspect? Sorry, I don't
like
understand.
as in like, you know how you say you don't have emotional thoughts and all
Yeah.
that. Like, I mean, to feel like happiness or sadness, you know, like when you still see that, like, you know, when you see that person or miss them or like that'd make it hard.
Oh, 100%. Like, sorry, when I say I don't feel happiness, it's not I don't feel happiness for 24 hours. I might get a 15-second spurt
Right. Okay.
of happiness where, geez, I feel good today. And then the internal thoughts, they say, well, I don't think you should feel good today. And then they start to think, well, right, what about this? What about this? What about this? So you
Constant like self-doubt sort of thing.
yeah, it's like you don't have a chance to feel happy. Like there's always your mind is constantly worrying and constantly moving. You don't have a chance to actually sit down and think, shit, I did good at that, or I did this. It's just if my mind stops, the first thing I ever think about it is negative. It's never ever positive. And that's the thing that I suppose what I have, and there would be other people out there that are just not speaking about it, is you never stop to think about the good things. You always think, in my instance, right, when is the next lot of money is going to come in to pay this person, or whatever, and that doesn't finish there, I can't pay this person, or what if I go on a trip up the east coast and my car breaks down? How am I going to get home? It's those constant thoughts rather than, oh geez, we did such a good job on this house today, or like my child has just got a award in assembly. I'm so stoked for them, which 100% internally I know my body is, but that thought is probably for 15 seconds max.
That sounds like a perfect recipe for like drug abuse. Not like, you know, like I could imagine if you're constantly like that, I could imagine how it'd be so easy to go, fuck, I need to escape this, and how people would chase like just to shut your mind down sort of thing.
100%. And I think the biggest thing for me when I was a kid was knowing that a doctor did tell me once that that marijuana is one of the number one causes of, or can help or can cause schizophrenia, which I was like, I've already got what I'm dealing with now. Imagine if I have that. So that was a out for me to think, no, I'm never going to touch that. No, I never have touched that. But you've hit the nail on the head. Some days I wish I could just write myself off. But I think I've dealt with it for so long. I'm thinking so much, you can think about, I'm going to write myself off, but then you've already thought about what's going to happen when I write myself off. What am I going to impact? What am I going to change when I write myself off? And it's like weighing up the good versus the bad. And that's where I've got to in life, is where my good is probably not as bad as it used to be. So if I go and make it worse, then I have to make it good again. That's
an incredible amount of self-awareness, man. Like to think past that point, like that's I can imagine that would have taken a while to get to.
Well, the biggest thing, I suppose, the biggest turning point is, if I'll touch on in my life, was when I was 11 or 12. So when I was 5, I got diagnosed with separation anxiety. And that was purely because Mum dropped me off to kindergarten and I used to bawl my eyes out.
Yep.
And that did not stop for about 4 to 5 weeks, for what I can remember, until my teacher had to literally drag myself off my mum. But that, to me, I sit back and think, well, every kid, everyone in every class in kindergarten has that. So that's where it all started for me. And then I was living in at the time at a small country town called Kempton. My brother who's 3 years older than me. He had to move to high school. So he was in grade 6, I was in grade 3, and we had the choice to go down the road to Bridgewater or go up the road to Oatlands.
And for those that don't know, Bridgewater, I suppose, Morse has got a bit of a reputation for being like pretty. You got to be able to handle your shit.
Yeah, and that's why my parents decided to move north to Oatlands instead of south to Bridgewater.
Yep.
For that exact reason. So he was 12 at the time. I was 9. I moved school. I was in grade 3, and I remember I don't have very many memories of my childhood because I just try and not think about my childhood, as harsh as that sounds, because it wasn't the best and it's not what I want to think about. But yeah, I moved up there, and I remember just feeling so shit, and I felt like I was having a heart attack at age 9. And then, anyway, we took up to the office, and I got diagnosed with asthma. I'm like,
Yeah, okay.
I've never coughed. I've never had a problem running. I'm like, that's a bit strange. So that went on. That diagnosis of asthma was about a 6-month process, and then I was given a puffer, but that didn't help. And then I was like, well, I don't think he has asthma. So then by the age of 10, I was diagnosed with actually having panic attacks instead of asthma. It took him a whole year for me to realise that instead of my internal chest pain and freaking out was not an asthma attack, it was a panic attack.
And so those asthma puffers, my sister had, I had massive panic attacks and anxiety before I got in the straight and narrow. But growing up, my sister had asthma as well.
Yeah.
And I remember someone at once at school, they were like, I remember I get called into the principal's office and they were asking me about, not that I had anything to do with it, but it came out that those asthma puffers actually get your heart racing.
Yeah.
Which would have made your panic attacks worse.
100%. So, yeah, one of my 33, I was in, 9, like 20 or so years ago. And I feel like my story from age 9 to 15, I feel like I was the mental health guinea pig child, because some of the stuff that my family had to go through was not what any family should have to go through. And then so I move on from there, diagnosed with panic attacks, which of course is some sort of mental health issue. And then by the age of 12 and 13, I had already gone and seen probably 5 or 6 psychologists. Wow. And that was I was just shipped around. Oh no, I can't help you here. I can't help you there. I can't help you there. Rah. And then, so there's this place. I think it still is there. It's called Clare House.
Oh, I've heard of that.
In Clare Street in Newtown.
Yeah.
I pretty much every second week, me and my mum attended that place for about 3 years. I seen 4 different psychologists, and so what really grounded me to a halt and really made me aware that I had an issue was the doctor came in and my mum, and they asked me to go sit outside, and I come back in and my mum was just bawling her eyes out. And I said, "Mum, what is wrong?" And she said, sit down, Dame, rah. And the doctor walks in and goes, "I'm sorry, we cannot help you."
So, and you were there and heard that?
I was there, and the psychologists, and there was 4 of them in the room, said to me and my mum, "There's nothing that we can do to help you."
Fucking hell.
And my mum said she was in absolute hysterics, and I was 11 at the time. I was processing what was going on, and my mum said, "Well, what are we supposed to do then?"
Yeah.
And I sort of shut off at that point. I can't remember what the answer was, but I believe it was, well, you have to figure it out yourself.
So no medication, no like.
So at that stage at life, age 11, the medication we hadn't tried yet. It was just purely physics, psychology treatment.
Yep.
So when that stopped, And so when that came along, and that was told to my mum, was there's nothing that we can do to help you. I suppose that in turn would nearly be my mother's worst day in her life too. Was how can someone not help my child? So then, of course, my mum had to pull her stuff together and come home, and I suppose she had to think, well, what am I going to do to help my son? So then our only next step was to go back to our GP, who, of course, we all know is a general practitioner who doesn't specialise in mental health.
They're good at keeping you alive, and that's about it.
Yeah, and we had to go back and say, well, we've been down to this psychologist, this psychologist. They're telling us there's nothing that they can do to help my son. And I can remember that the next 3 months of my life was just a blur. Like I can't draw on any memories of that period. So then that's when they started to go down a route of medication. So I had to go to see a psychiatrist, which is different to a psychiatrist. Anyway, we went down there and you go home and take this twice at night. So then I come home, take the medication. I reckon from the age of 11 to age 12 to 13, I had taken up 10 to 12 to 15 lots of different medications. Some that I would sleep for 3 or 4 hours at night. Some would actually give me so much energy I couldn't physically sit still. Some would knock me out for a 12-hour period. Some would work for a month, and it wouldn't. So yeah, that's where it all started to go downhill. And then I got to the point where, and my psychiatrist, who I see on a regular basis to this day, has said to me, which is a very common fact, no one's going to help you unless you want to help yourself. And the thing was, I didn't have anyone else to help me.
But you're 11, man, or 30, that's a hard thing to put onto a kid that age,
I could not agree more. But mentally there and then, I had to make a decision. That's
a lot for someone like my, after T-Man, so my eldest daughter's 9.
Yeah.
So it's not far off 9. Like, to have to fathom that, like...
I have, my eldest is 11 right now, and I think back to myself, I thought, how, at his ability, how could he make that rational decision of what he wanted to do? So then we got to the point where I still, and this is another pretty dark day in my childhood, we were driving through this piece of path. Sorry, this piece of road down Tree Road, which is out the back of Brighton, and a family member said to me, if you don't pull your shit together one day, you are going to kill yourself.
And this is still where you...
This is still when I was 11 or 12. And I can still remember those comments. I still remember those words being said.
Did you have any idea of what suicide was before that?
No, whatsoever. I had no idea what suicide was. Nothing whatsoever. And then I got to think, and of course, back in those days, I was 11. I would have been 2001, 2002. I didn't have access to phone.
No,
I couldn't Google it. So, and then I asked this individual, and if my mum wants to listen back to this, unfortunately, it was her that said it.
Fucking hell.
And I still remember the day I said, Mum, I don't understand what that means. And she goes, kill yourself. And I said, what, like jump off a bridge? And she said, yes. And I think God bless her soul, she had to deal with so much that she was, at that point, she didn't know what she was saying. So then I had to process that. And then, so back in back when the psychologist said that they couldn't help, they diagnosed me with acute depression and anxiety, along with OCD.
That seems a bit backwards though. Like if they're diagnosing you, that's the whole reason you're diagnosed, because then you can take steps to help
Sure.
with whatever. So it seems
100%, but they didn't, I suppose, back in 2001, 2002, they didn't have any resources to draw on to help that process. There was nothing in their psychology training that they seen in me that they could help. Not to say that if we had a private health fund that there wasn't other psychologists, but this is what my mum dealt with, this is what I had to deal with. We never had the chance to shop around, so that's where I suppose my mum knew no different to try and source more answers. So that's where we got to the point where, well, what are we going to do? And I suppose my mum thought, oh, well, we'll go help see if some medication could help. And from what I know now, medication will only help if you want to put the help in. And once again, 11 or 13-year-old was like, what does help mean? Like, how am I going to help myself? I didn't know that I had to try and process my thoughts. I didn't know. I was still trying to understand what I even had. So that's why the period of like the age of 9 to 13, I don't have very good memories of that time, and I don't draw on those memories because it was such a life battle. I don't want to think about it, and even now trying to think of a memory of then, there's literally nothing left there because I suppose
survival, you blocked it out.
Yeah, my coping mechanism was to remove all of that. So not to say that in that period of 4 years I didn't have fun.
Yeah.
But there was no point where I can actually remember positive, which is hard.
It would have been hard. Like, I mean, it's only something that you sort of grasp. Yeah, I mean, you grasp it as life goes on more and more and more. But especially at that age, like, I think you just as a kid you assume everyone's the same. You know, even to the point like with the house you live at. If you're young enough, everyone's got a house and it'd be the same.
Yeah.
And everyone's parents would be the same and everyone eats the same food and all that. And then it's only as you get older and older and older you realise that things are different. Like, not everyone likes the taste of Pepsi or something, stuff like that. Yeah. But to have such like something with so much weight to go that like, your brain's different, and we can't help you, like all of the shit that would have come with that, as in like, the biggest thing that jumps out at me is in like, well, hang on, not everyone's like thinking like this sort of thing, like that, and then all the other stuff, it's like phenomenal.
No, and that's probably why I have no real mental collection of a memory of that period. And then I suppose I matured, I grew up a bit, and then I still remember the first time I ever literally had a suicidal thought. I was age 13, and I suppose at that point, from 11 to 13, your brain is growing, is evolving. There's things I started to understand more, and then I suppose I got to a point where I understood what suicide was, and I suppose not having the psychology help, I got to the point where maybe that was my only out, was suicide. And that was, I suppose, very hard to live with, knowing that my parents at the time are doing their best, but there's nothing that more that they can do. Maybe this is my destiny. And it got to the point where I still believe to this day, and it's the truth, without my parents and my wife and my sibling, my brother, I would not physically be here. If I didn't have that in-house support, there's no way I would have gotten through what I got through. And that's, I suppose, I think about that's a pretty big deal. And now I think back age 33, some days I have dark days. And yeah, but now I know what I have. I know what I've dealt through. I know what I've been through. I know the support I have. I just feel like a suicide now to me would be escape, a goat. It would be the easy way out. And then secondly, the suicide as well. Now I can feel and have all these emotional thoughts of all these years of what would I leave behind, what disaster, what would I leave my family in the position of. So, and that's probably the biggest thing for me is a lot of people, I suppose, with mental health think, oh, geez, a person with a mental health illness is probably going to kill themselves, which is probably categorically right if they can't get the right support. But I suppose my thinking is I just physically couldn't. Like nowadays, and I suppose once I could process those thoughts at age 13, I suppose I didn't know back in when I was 13, 14 what would actually happen if I did. And there wasn't enough on the news, there wasn't enough talk about suicide for me to actually think this is probably the easiest way. So I'm probably lucky in that respect. But now, where I'm at now, I just could never physically do it because I just couldn't put that burden back onto someone else.
Did you have an appreciation, if you remember, of how like final suicide was, being that like that's it, like that there's no.
Yeah, and that's probably the next biggest thing is the suicide for me back then was I couldn't process it because I didn't know what it really was, but having those thoughts just made my mental health worse. And then not knowing what I could and couldn't do was like, shit, this is a pretty shit place I'm at. Maybe it would be the easiest way, but I suppose back then it wasn't on the. It wasn't. I didn't have a phone. I didn't have the local internet to go and Google how many people have killed themselves. What is the best way to kill yourself? So I suppose that's how I got through that period of literally not doing it. And once again, knowing from what I seen my mother go through at age 11 from the psychologist, was like, no, I can't. I cannot let this win. I cannot give up. I need to prove to them and to myself and to my mum that I can get through this. And I suppose I still draw on that a lot now. And people say to me, no, I don't think you can do that. That's probably, I suppose, to me, the biggest insult to me in this day is, no, you can't do that. And I love sitting back and saying, well, you fucking watch me do that.
That's right. So one thing, bit of a shift here, but your house that you've recently built, how quickly, like that was like phenomenal. How quickly, how from when you sort of poured the slab to when you moved in, what was the time frame? Because that was like ridiculous.
So I poured the slab on July 23, and I was only like the process of building a house is normally around anywhere between the 12 to 15 week for your standard home. This is and that's working 5 days a week with a crew of guys, and because I'm running a business, family, etc. I worked on it probably myself of a week, 20 hours. But yeah, as you just said, that was the biggest thing. Was I had said to a few people, I reckon I hope to get in by Christmas.
Yeah.
And they said to me, there's no way you're gonna do that. And that just triggered something, and it was like, well, you fucking watch me.
Yeah.
And then I had that goal from then on. I'm like, nah, if you say that I can't do it, I'm gonna show you that I can do it. And good enough, lucky enough, I did move in on the 23rd of December. On December, like what are we now? We sit here 9th of March. I probably still haven't physically, mentally recovered from that. But it was just a point where I'm like, fuck you. No, you can't tell me what I can and can't do.
That was because I remember when that was going on, and T-Man comes home and he was like, "Yeah, Damon's trying to get this done before Christmas." And I remember thinking, I was like, "Fuck it, he's going to kill T-Man. Like he's going to work him into the ground." But as you said, you were doing a lot of the work. But even he'd come home and he was saying, because I delivered dirt. I delivered some dirt up there, so I saw it at one point. And then it was like a couple of days later, he comes home and he was telling me that you had like some floras or I don't know, something booked in, which was in like a week's time. It was so far from being ready, and I was like, "What? Like, what is going?" But that was So, which I suppose is a testament to what you're saying. You've got to have, people can't tell and you got to have something that's got your attention.
Yeah, and I suppose that's what's helped so much is there was always like I couldn't tell you the amount of people that I was friends with that didn't want to be friends with me anymore because I was that weird child, and I've always wanted to, I suppose, as the old saying is, stick up the finger and say no.
Yeah,
I'm gonna make something, and I'm gonna do what they said cannot be done.
It's strange to think. I don't know. I don't have the answers, but it's strange to think about. Like those two thoughts are from the complete opposite sides of the table. Suicide, like checking out, incomplete, finishing sort of thing, to being able to, you can't tell me no, I will succeed. They're the complete opposite end of the spectrum.
Yeah, and look, and to be honest, and like I've touched on before, without the family support, but also internally, without the mental drive, I don't think I would be here. I would have let the evil win. I would have let the bad take over. And I suppose that's why with what I have and what I have to deal with on a daily basis is I would categorize it as nowhere near as bad as what I used to go through, because I've finally been able to get help in the right way. But to sum up those back in those days was, well, no one knows what I have, but there was just an internal drive in me that was like, nah, this is not going to be the last. I'm going to get through this some way or another, and I'm going to come out the other side no matter what. And I think back to back in those days, I'm like, how mentally did I do that? And I still don't know how, and I still can't fathom where that internal drive came from. But I suppose it was just always a coping mechanism, and the words are, I didn't have no other choice. It was either fail, give in, and go down the suicide route, or was get on and mentally move forward and somehow deal with what I have. Yeah,
I suppose it's without you knowing, it'd probably it's subconscious like survival mechanism.
Yeah,
your brain, without you realizing it, possibly knows that we need focus, we need something to fixate on. That no one's going to tell us no, this is what we're doing, and the harder the task, the more that you want to do it, sort of thing.
Yeah, and that's and those are the things that I got from my when I was able to see a psychologist that actually helped. I was probably age 18 or 19, so I had a period of 7 years where mentally I had to do it independently, and that wasn't too bad. Oh, sorry. I say it wasn't too bad, but it was hell. But why I say it wasn't too bad is because I was 11, 12, 13, 14. I didn't have to buy my own food. I didn't have to pay my own rent. I was living under my parents' roof. So what I was dealing with, I could deal with but still live. But then I suppose it sort of got, and it evolved. We finally tracked someone to help on the psychology way, and that was the first thing they said was, it's either fight or flight. So you will stay and fight whatever's going on, or flight is you want to run away and hide. And yeah, the only way really to get through a mental health disease is to fight. If you for a second are not committed, sorry, I won't say a second because everyone has bad days, bad moments, but if you for a split minute think, geez, I'm going to let this get the better of you, your internal mental intrusive thoughts will take over. And that's probably the biggest thing with having a mental health disease is, as was wanting to get better, is not letting it take control of you. Yeah.
At the start you were saying, you said how the doctor or the psychiatrist said that, there's nothing we can do to help you. But then, I mean, now, I suppose the question is, do you have hope? Because as you've said yourself, like we're going from there and then it got a bit worse and then got a bit better to where you are now. Like it obviously has gotten better.
Yeah.
You have do you think that this is the ceiling for you, or do you have hope that it will get better again, or do you?
Yeah. So, no, I think this is the ceiling. And there's nothing. I understand we live in a pretty modern technology world. There may be all these things. They may design a new drug. They may design this program that they put me into, put some sort of probe into my brain. I don't know. But right here and right now, I believe I've reached my ceiling. There's nothing more that they can do, and I'm at the point where I can live to a day-to-day basis and deal with what I have comfortably. So I believe that is my ceiling. I've been told that there's no way that I'm never, ever going to not have it. It's like there's a piece of... it's like the frontal lobe or something. There's that part of the brain, the emotional side of the brain. There's a teeny weeny bit of a microorganism missing there. And that's where the medication is, where I'll always take medication for the rest of my life, because that actually replaces that part of that brain.
Gets it fired up or something.
Yeah, but it took till I was 23 to actually find a psychiatrist that could diagnose the right drug. As I said, I went through 15, 16 medications, and probably from grade 8 to grade 11, I could honestly say I didn't really... The mental health stuff, from what I remember, was just gone. And I think that was purely that the drugs in the day, we actually fluked a drug that helped and did what it had to, which was great. But as I say, I was living at home. I had food on the table. I didn't have to buy stuff. So that's why I got through that period. And that's when I said grade 11 I moved out of home, is when that drug stopped working, because I had real life dramas. I won't say dramas, but I had to... Yeah,
more on your plate.
I had to find work. I had to find a job which had to pay for the food. I had to... And that's when the medication I was on for those 4 years just wasn't doing enough. And then I was lucky enough to strike out to find an ex-military vet who now his role in the military is he's a psychiatrist, and he was willing enough to take me on. And without him and his support at age 21, 22, I think my life would be nowhere near as much as what it is now. And I think also what made me want to find, and we found someone like him. And I say this to a few people, and I've touched on it with yourself, is I'm 33 years old, and I've had 2 mental health breakdowns, which some people might think, oh, geez, what does that mean? You get placed in a mental induced coma, or you get put in the psych ward. And that's the other thing with mental health. I didn't get put into a psych ward because I was deemed not worthy enough for a psych ward.
Right.
And that was at age 21, 22, I had my first mental health breakdown. And that was because I just completely cut off all my medication. And I said to myself, I can live without without medication. And I think it took me 3 or 4 days without medication. And yeah, my life just was flipped up. My heart would not stop racing. I felt like I was having a heart attack 24/7. I could not stop the intrusive thoughts.
How come what made you want to try and, you just got frustrated? Like, what made you want to try and kick it all?
I think it was like, why should I need to take medication for the rest of my life? Like, why do I need this? And I suppose I was at the point where, I believe I just had, me and my current wife, Lauren, who's done such an amazing job to pull me through these years. We were starting to consider having our first child, and I'm like, I don't want to have to explain to my children, that Dad's got to go have medication. Like, what sort of image does that have? So that's where I got to the point where, bugger it, I'm just going to stop taking my medication, which was probably the worst thing that I could ever choose to do. So that, again, I lived, it was pretty helpful for those 2 or 3, 4 or 5 days. And went back to my GP. I think I was on to my 4th GP because the first 3 weren't helping. And I actually, I stumbled across this guy. His name's John Lane. And he said, righto, I'm going to make it my goal to help you. And that's literally what he has done. And he put me down the right path of medication enough where I could live, but his comments every time I see him was, right, we can give you this medication, but it's not going to work all by itself. If you don't want to self-help if you don't want to self-regulate your thoughts, I could give you anything in the world. It's not going to help you.
It's a hard thing. I had had panic attacks and had anxiety and whatnot, but a lot of mine was self-induced with like alcohol and all that sort of shit. But even so, like, it's such a hard thing, and I can't imagine what it'd be like being at such a young age. But I had the ambulance come to my house. I think it was like 5 times in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Because I was having a heart attack. I wasn't, but you couldn't tell me otherwise. I was having, and they'd come in, they'd put up the ECG machine to me and all of that. And, oh, no, you're not. Like, you're wrong. That machine's broken. Like they'd take me to hospital and all of that. And it was the same thing. I only had one doctor. Like, it was just, you're not having a heart attack, out you go sort of thing. And this was like when COVID was going on, so it was impossible to get to a GP. And the doctor, I said, look, I am, because I'm like, I feel dizzy. And he's like, you're breathing too much. You're hyperventilating. I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I said, oh, my hand's going tingly. And he's, no, that's a fight or flight response as well. And like actually made sense of it and broke it down. But fuck, it's hard, like with panic attacks and with other stuff. For you, like, this is my body. I understand it. This is how I feel. And then for someone else who you don't really know very well to go, that's wrong. What you're feeling or thinking is wrong. Fuck, it's hard to accept that.
Oh, and I'm lucky enough. The medication I take these days, I don't have panic attacks anymore. I still get where my heart races, and I know what that means. It would have been a panic attack if I didn't have the medication, but I can remember back, would have been a 6 to 7 year period, once a day, if not twice a day, for 7 years, I would have a panic attack.
That is a lot, and they're exhausting.
Yeah, and I suppose after the first, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 10, I just thought it was normal, and there wasn't the mental health programs and stuff there is today. The fact of the matter is, there was nothing. There was literally nothing back in the early 2000s. Like, I'm not sure whether it was just Southern Tasmania or Tasmania in a general, or
I think it was the world in general, man,
in
honestly.
the world in general. There was just nothing. So I got to the point where, well, I have to live with this on a daily basis for 6 or 7 years. And then, as I said, without finding this doctor, he said, you shouldn't have to have those every day. I remember saying something like, well, isn't it normal to have them? And his words were, no. Like, normal people don't have panic attacks on a daily basis. I'm like, well, right. What can we do? And yeah, that's where it sort of evolved to, and yeah, try all these medications. And yeah, it took, even with his help, it still took 2 or 3 years to find the exact one that helped my makeup internally inside my brain, which was but somehow, and I suppose with mental health things, you still have to get up, get out of bed, function while you're going through, as I call it, a guinea pig trial of medication. You still have to go. Otherwise, if you don't, you are somewhat, I wouldn't have the job I have now. I wouldn't have the career I have now if I didn't have that drive to still put up with what I have in the background, but still want to do stuff on a daily basis. Like,
it's a phenomenal achievement. Like, beyond, and as you said, that's obviously helped you do. Getting people trying to tell you no and stuff has obviously helped you a lot. But it's I keep thinking, man, like how I was saying about the ceiling of, but you're saying finding that doctor and then finally finding the right medication, like all these things, there is no reason. Like there's nothing to say that it won't get better or anything like that. Like you may not be out there actively looking for it now, like trying new medication or trying new doctors or anything, but as you get older and your brain thinks about things differently, and that's something could, as you said, like it's not going to be a magic switch and everything's going to be amazing. But I mean, how do you know what that is?
And that's exactly right. But I think it comes down to the coping mechanism. Is I got to a point where I can live my daily life somewhat in a normal process. I don't want anything better, because that was, I feel, was better than what it was like 5-10 years ago. Of course, I would love to wake up and not have this, but I don't think there ever will be that. So you have to self-reflect and self-understand, right? There's not going to be a cure tomorrow, so where you are today is good enough. If I was to live on the hope that there's going to be something better, then I don't think mentally I could process that. Like, I've always been known as a glass half empty rather than glass half full. I deal with the negatives first, then put the positives second. I suppose, in my understanding, if the negatives are dealt with, you have room for positive. But if there's still negativity, there's no room for positivity.
But that's such a blowout to hear for you to be as like successful as you has like just business, say, for example. If that's the way you think about like the negativity and all that sort of stuff, for you to be able to, I want to renovate my house, say, for you to come along and still be able to see it all and have that, and then pitch those good ideas and not be all like, this is shit, this is gonna look, you know what I mean? That's a phenomenal achievement.
Yeah, no, and as I said, it's something that from what I gather and from what I've dealt with in the last probably 25 years, it's something that I live with on a daily basis. But
and it'd probably take it away. Like, there's not going to be a magic cure and all of that. I don't know, because I'm not in your shoes. Would you want that? And the reason I ask is because if there was some magic cure and you don't deal with those sorts and stuff, chances are you probably wouldn't have the drive and stuff that you do, and you wouldn't, you know what I mean?
No, 100%. And my honest opinion, would I want that? No, because the want to try something new or the want to, I'll go back. Want to try something new is not there because the 18 different medications that didn't work, to then physically and mentally think, right, well, I'm going to go and try something different, is such a scary prospect. It's like, well, what if it's the number 19 medication that didn't work because those 18 over there didn't work? Well, what's to say that this next one that's new and approved, it's guaranteed to work, is going to work? And that's probably why I don't, not say that I don't want to, but it's just so much room for error.
Yeah, risk versus reward. You sounds like you've the fucking path that you've travelled to get to where you are is like, rocky isn't even the beginning to explain it. To get to where you are now, and as I said, being like massively successful, and you seem in a good place in your life. The risk of trying to get something maybe a little bit better to how, it could just go so much worse.
Yeah,
it's yeah, and that's the other thing. I mean, medication. Medication does help, and I mean it's different for everyone. But doing that stuff, I mean, you'll probably get, the more as you get older, you process things and you think about things more. Changing medication necessarily isn't going to be the answer. It's all
no. So pretty much what my psychiatrist said, he said I can give you medication to help. But he said there's no medication, and there probably will not be any medication on the market to do 100% of the work. And that's sort of what I had to deal with from the beginning, because I was told that there's nothing that I can do. There's no way we can help you. There's no way that I can improve your life. I had to want to do it by myself, and it's the internal coping mechanism of doing it by yourself is probably where and why I'm still here today. And like my psychiatrist said, he said the medication does 15 to 20% max, and that's all it's ever going to do.
Just keeps you alive.
It just keeps somewhat a balance internally. But he said there's no more that medication's going to do. Sorry, what I explained a bit better is there is a medication that would, but you would be a doped up mess that's sitting on a couch that couldn't physically move, which to have a normality of life, nobody wants to sit on a couch dazed or drugged up to the hills to get over their mental, from what's going on in their brain. So you have to have he has to have somewhat a guideline to, right, this guy needs to wake up in the morning, go to work, we can give him this, but he's going to have to do the rest.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do you have a good relationship with your mum?
Yes.
You do?
Yes. I still have a very good relationship with my mum.
Was it hard back then? I suppose you would have been too young to.
Look, yes and no. I draw on more no than yes. It was hard, but I can see what she was trying to do. She was trying to get her son better, and that's, I suppose, what any normal parent would want. So still to this day, I don't know how she got through with what she'd had to live with. And it wasn't the only thing going on in my in my household. My brother, he got diagnosed as legally blind when he was 17. So she had to deal with a child that had mental health issues and a child that was losing his sight. I still don't know how she made it, and she could still function as a person. But I don't know, until you're in that predicament as a parent, you don't know.
No, no.
But that was, I suppose, her drive was, I can't let my sons down.
Mm. Yeah, that's so much to have going on.
Yeah. Yes.
It's so many people leaning on you.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Lauren, when I messaged her and asked her, she was saying about how compared to when you first met, she said you were skinny as and riddled with anxiety, implying that maybe she thinks you need to lose a bit of weight now, mate. No.
I often get the hints. Oh, you should come to the gym. I'm like, well, yeah, but sure. Who's going to look after the kids, or who's going to do this work? So yeah.
The whole, because when we first started talking about this, and then I started thinking about it and stuff, I sort of imagined that what you were going through, there would have been lots of violence involved, not so violence as in again, you're the guinea pig at school and that sort of shit. Kids would pick on you and that sort of stuff. So I didn't pitch you as a skinny little, you know what I mean? Yeah. Was that the case?
Well, I suppose this is people with acute mental health. I would say if I could go back to my year 9 class, I reckon there would be 3 people that knew what I had.
Yeah, wow. So, yeah, okay, that's...
I suppose a mental health person is so good at masking what they have.
I agree, but I didn't think you would have been at such a young age.
Yeah, well, it was just I suppose I had to deal with what I had, and to let people in, I was so scared that I was going to lose the little support that I had. So while I had a smile on my face and could hang around with mates and stuff at lunch and recess, internally my whole brain was melting down. But I haven't met anyone that has what I have or has experienced what I have, so I can't draw on their experiences, but maybe it was just a way that I had to get through life, was to show that nothing was wrong. But yeah, and I suppose the hardest thing is the people that are closest to you and the people that love you the most are the people that I take this out on the most, because they're the people that are there and are supporting me and can see what I have on a daily basis. But they are the people that see me at my worst time, and they are the people that see what I deal with on a daily basis. And when I get angry and frustrated and I'm not having a good day, whether it's work-wise, mental-wise, I don't have no one else to vent to. So I feel like the people that are close to a person with mental health, they deal with just as much as what the person who is dealing with the mental health is.
Sometimes even more, I think, they've got other stuff going on, like your kids and stuff to try and...
Which is where I come back to. If I didn't have my wife, my mum, I don't reckon I would physically be here.
How much of this story do your kids know? I've got a 5-year-old, a 8-year-old, and an 11-year-old. I believe my son is starting to realise what I have. But my 5-year-old still says to me, Dad, why do you take medication for? And my answer is, because there's a part of my brain missing, darling, that I need this medication for. And that is enough to make her understand why, so she stops asking questions. I don't believe they're not old enough yet to understand. Yeah.
Say when my son's 2-3 years older, he might have the mental capability and wanting to ask more, and I'll have no doubt in my mind I will go into detail as much as he wants.
I think that's, again, I'm no expert, but I think that's the right thing to do. You're making it more normal, like it's just that when I went to rehab and stuff, I was the same. Went to rehab. My kids talk about it like I went to the beach. You know what I mean? It's whole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing. As hard as those days were, having kids and having a real shit mental day, I did. There was everything I did possible to not show it to them. Like I would go and put myself into my bedroom and close the door. But then I suppose that put a lot of stress on my wife as she would have to explain why Dad has gone to lay down, and it was always Dad has a headache, or it was never Dad's having a real bad mental day. Just leave him alone, because I suppose if that answer was said to them, they would be like, what does a bad mental day mean? Yeah,
but I think, in my opinion, that's the perfect approach. You've planted enough of seed. It's like, okay, Dad's off with something, sort of thing. Yeah. That you're not lying to them and such. You've planted enough of seed in, as they get older and stuff. Then if there's more questions, you can, remember that time when I had to go and be by myself in my room. I think that's the perfect approach. Man.
Yeah. And that's where I suppose I've been lucky with my journey is I was on the getting better end when my kids came around, rather than when it was all happening and they could see the brunt of it. So that is probably a good thing. Yeah.
Is it genetic, any part, or is this, you're not sure?
I'm not sure, no. I don't believe so. They still don't know what the cure, what the cause was.
Yeah, okay.
Obviously, I was, from what I gather, there's those little microorganisms or whatever they're called. I am no scientist. There's those things missing, so I was obviously born with it.
Yeah.
My grandmother, who's no longer with us, she had bad mental health. But yeah, she dealt with it in the 60s and 70s, which was no one knew what mental health was.
No.
So you had to cope with it. But no. To answer your question, no, I don't know.
The reason I ask is because how traumatic it all has been. What you've gone through and stuff. If you get little glimmers at all through your, if your kid, if something happens that your kids might do or something, you think, fuck, I hope that's not.
Yes, no, and yes, to answer your question, yes, I do get those thoughts. I do. Yeah. Like if my son comes home and he's worried about something and can't let it go, it's like, I really hope it's not the start of something. 100%. And that is probably my biggest fear. It's probably my biggest, I suppose, any parent's fear is what you have, is it going to be passed down to your children? But I suppose if you live in that fear, it's not an answer that I'm going to find out tomorrow. So it does come across my thought train, but I don't think about it.
At the same time, I mean, everyone's different. The journey everyone's on is different and stuff. I would think that what you've been through, sort of thing, you started like mental health wise, you started sort of like down here and now you're like up here. So, hell of a lot better just in what you've sort of achieved and figured out about it. If that was to happen, they're going to have a much better shot. Not definitely, than what you sort of. They're going to be starting at a better point than what you were.
Yes, definitely, and you are 100% correct. There's a lot more awareness. There's a lot more mental health awareness. There's a lot more things. There's a lot more triggers. There's lots more people that want to help in this day and age. Yeah.
And not only that, it's. The more normal it is, like shit like this, like the more normal it is, sort of thing.
100%. Like if you was to ask me 5 years ago, firstly, I would have never told anyone, and secondly, the answer would have been no. It's because it would be like, well, what if that person listens to this and has a judgment of I couldn't deal with that, but now it's like, well, it is a more normal thing. mental health is not normal, of course, but it's more out there.
I think I'd say that it's sort of like I know more people that will openly say that they struggle with mental health than I think don't. You know, like the world is a hard ass place, man.
Yes.
Like,
100%.
And realistically, like we're only designed to eat berries in a cave and shag and like we're paying taxes and all this shit. Like we're not meant to do that.
No. So and that's probably as the world evolves and gets better. That's probably the drawback of the world getting better is what things are going to come up, and that is more stress. More stress, pretty much is having some sort of mental health. Like I did read a statistic. I think it's 1 in every 3rd person's going to suffer with mental health during their life. Yeah. But the normal mental health episode is between 2 to 5 years. I've never researched it. To be honest, it doesn't faze me of the percentage of people in the world who live with a mental health disease for the rest of their life. Like, I'm not sure. There might be 1 in every 100. There might be 1 in every 50.
Yeah.
But until it gets out there, it's still something that it's not an everyday around the dinner table topic. Like when you go down to the pub for a few beers with your mates or there's not a whole discussion. Oh, my sister's brother's husband has a mental health problem. It's still not talked about enough to get a vibe of what people are going through.
I do like. I mean, it's pretty. I'm very, very vocal about all the shit that alcohol abuse and detox and rehab, and then the struggles I have with mental health and stuff. So I'm very, very vocal about it. Most people know about it now, but I used to get a kick out of it, like any of it, be it like alcohol addiction or the mental health. When I first came out of rehab and I first sort of started getting my head right with everything, and people that say, oh, are you going to have a drink? And I was like, no, like I was an alcoholic. I had to go to just flat out tell them, and it's like the shock look on there. They're like they don't know for that reason because it's not. It's not widely spoken about,
No, yeah, and look, and what you're saying is, 100%. Once you reach that point of, I suppose you have to internally understand what you have, and that in my case, took 13, 15 years to process. But once I got that point to understand what I have and what I will have for most likely for the rest of my life, once I was at that point, I could think, right, well, what does that matter? What if people know what I have? Why should I care? And as I say to myself, and as I've said to people who have asked, I'm not going to wake up tomorrow and it's gone. No. There's no magical cure. It's a constant grind that I will have to deal through for the rest of my life. But I suppose it got to the point similar to you telling people. I would imagine that you was at the point where you wanted to get help, but someone says, would you like a beer? You would say yes, just because you didn't want to have to go through the process of, nah, I don't want a beer because I'm going through this and that. Where now you've dealt with it, you recognise what you had. It's like, nah, I don't want a beer, thanks. To get that reaction of like, well, why don't you want a beer? Yeah. You would have done everything to avoid that, but now you recognise and you've dealt with the demons that you had. You're like, I don't care what you think. I don't want a beer. Yeah.
I get you can see it as well in some people. Like I get some mates that ask me like more than normal. So like people ask me, oh, you don't drink. Why? What happened? Oh, it got a hold of me. And that's the end of it. And then I'll get other people ask me, and then they probe and probe and probe, and it's like it's the reason is because it obviously must trigger something in them. And they think, fuck, well maybe that's what he's doing. Like,
it's exactly the same with me. I've been out for lunch, or I've been out for places. I've been camping away, and I've to say, oh, I have to go home, and I say, why? Oh, I'm just not feeling very well. I'm just having a real bad mental health week, and they're like, oh, all right, see ya. Like, oh, so it's not like they don't know, but
Yeah.
it's either they want to know or they don't. It's just so misunderstood.
Yeah.
That they don't. I suppose they don't know what to say, what to ask.
It's hard. I don't know if it's similar to you, but my default, my big thing to help like catch myself, I used to call it, was I'd nap. If I like, oh fuck, my heart rate's going up, I'm going to have a panic attack here. I'm going to go. Oh, like you can feel it coming on.
Yeah.
I'm going to go and lie down, and same thing. Something might be going on. I might be in a situation. Oh yeah, I got to go. I'm going to go home. I got to lay down. Oh, why? What's wrong? And oh yeah, I'm feeling off, or like I used to call it feeling iffy. Oh, I'm feeling iffy.
Yeah.
And it's weird because like I can feel it on the inside, and I'm there telling this person, but from the outside looking in, especially, I don't know, like, you look fine.
Yeah.
Like, no, what are you talking about?
Yes. Yeah.
But but I could remember just thinking like, I've got like 30 seconds to start walking, or everything's going to crumble around me, and I'm not going to be able to come back from it.
Yeah. Yes.
But it would be hard, especially if you haven't experienced some of that. For someone who's looking at you completely normal, going, I'm about to like crumble, I've got to go.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing. I remember one of the things I used to want to get tattooed, but before I ever had any experience with mental health, I had a partner that did, and she had like really, really bad mental health many years ago. And at the time, there was a song that came out with Eminem and Rihanna, and the lyrics in it was, I can't tell you what it really is, I can only tell you what it feels like.
Yeah.
And I was always like, I was intrigued because I was with this girl who had mental health issues, and I just like, I like to understand things. Yeah. And I was always like, I wanted to understand, but I was like, that'd be cool. And then when I started having like my own issues many years later, I was like, fuck, that's the thing.
Yeah.
I can't tell you what it is, but I can tell you what it feels like. Like, it feels like I'm having a heart attack. That's not what it is, but I can tell you what it feels like, sort of thing.
Yeah, no, and look, as I sit back here and reflecting of what we've just spoke about, I still feel what the discussion we've had hasn't came out the right way, because it's just so hard to explain. Like, you can't. It's not like, how did you break your arm? Well, I slipped down the stairs, I put my arm out, the forearm cracked. That's how I broke my arm.
Yeah.
But I'm still sitting here thinking, what have I said? Has it come across the right way? Because I know what I have, I know what I've lived, but getting it out in words is extremely difficult.
But it's like that with everything, man. Like, it's like, all you can do is explain to people is like what the symptoms of these things are. You can't explain, like why this is why this happened to me. And this is, science can explain some part of it and whatnot.
Yeah.
But the whole why it's happening and exactly how, I mean, you can only explain so much. And there, to be fair, man, I don't think there is a perfect way. I don't think there's a sentence or a set of words or something like that you could reel off that will everyone will understand. As I said, like, unless you've lived through something like that, there's certain things I think that people listening will pull out of these conversations. Like, there might be a little bit that you've said or that I've said, and someone goes, "Fuck, that's the same for me," but they won't relate to any other things. And that's what I think makes the biggest difference as well, is that, at least I've found, it lets you know that you're normal.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
100%. And that's purely the reason why I reached out, was because I didn't want to leave behind the curtains anymore. I am openly, if anyone ever wants to pull me up and have a discussion about it, I would openly have a discussion if it's going to help them. And that's literally why I'm here today, is because I hope that there's someone. Sorry, I'll take it back. I hope there's no one living with what I have had and have, but I have no doubt there someone is. But I hope with what I'm saying rings true to them, and I think, oh, geez, I'm not the only one who's going through that.
Yeah.
Because back 10, 15 years ago, that's literally what it felt like. I didn't.
Yeah.
There was no one else. I couldn't tell you in my school, in my family. I couldn't tell you one single person who had a mental health issue. Maybe they did, but they were masking it like I was. But there was no open conversation. There was no get around the table and talk about your issues. It was so kept behind the rug. No one ever talked about it, and it's still very big. It's still not where it should be today, because it's still, there's so much stigma as a mental health issue is a fantasy issue. Like, you don't have nothing wrong with you. You look perfectly fine. You're living, you're breathing.
But that's, I think a large part of that comes back to is because you can't, there isn't a set of words, a sentence you can reel off to go, this is what it is.
Yeah.
And if you haven't lived through it, you can't wrap your head around it and stuff. But I think a large part of it, like I was saying, shit like this helps because realistically, like, the world's a rough place, and people don't want to feel alone, like, at all. And to go through any sort of mental health thing, you do feel like I'm the only person that this is happening to, and this is shit, and why me and stuff. And then you hear other people talking about, you know, I mean, it's like kids. You see kids get on about nothing, like, you know, I like eating sand. Oh, I like eating sand too. Let's be best friends.
Yeah.
And that's all it takes is, there's someone else who enjoys the same thing.
Yeah.
Same shit when you grow up, you know, like, I've got a mental health problem and this is it. Fuck, that exact same thing I can relate to. Not all of it, but that little bit. My life's easier. The world's not so scary. Yeah. There's other people walking the same way.
Yeah, and look, and it still is the word. Like, if I say to someone, I have an acute mental health issue, and that I will never probably get over it and live it for the rest of my life. It still takes so much for people to understand that. Like, it's not something like, I've got stage 3 cancer. It's not to say that, like, obviously having stage 3 cancer is shit, and I wouldn't wish it on anyone. But it's a process that people are commonly have and commonly talk about. Commonly, it's more around in the world. But if you walked up and I said to someone, hey, just so you know, I have a acute mental health issue, they would be like, oh, I'm not sure what that means, but thank you for telling me.
I suppose because it's so broad. I mean, if you get cancer, you go to the hospital, you can get chemo, you get radiation. These are all the things that you do.
Yeah.
Mental health, there isn't one place that you go and one lot of, like, chemo radiation that you go through and stuff. It's so broad, and no one knows how bad it can be affecting you. If you see someone with cancer, like bad cancer, you know, the missing hair and all that sort of stuff. You never know. If it's, I've got a mental health issue. It could, it's so broad.
Yes,
it could be anything.
Exactly. And that's probably the worst thing about it is it's not open. It's still all mostly kept behind the curtains, and there's not enough. Like, there is all these organisations which are doing a fantastic job, but unless you have it, unless you live with it, you're not. It doesn't ring true. Like, a normal person, just to say, you're living without a mental health issue, wouldn't understand what the Black Dog Institute is trying to do, or what Beyond Blue is trying to do. They're like, well, it's just an organisation that's trying to help someone.
Yeah.
But what are they helping them with? Well, it's a mental health issue. But what's a mental health issue? Like,
the other thing as well, which just dawned on me, is like, if you're comparing again to cancer, you go to the doctor. I've got cancer. The doctor, okay, righto, this is what you need to do. Most people want to live. Most people want to, they've got self-preservation inside them. I'll go and get fixed. If you've got for a large part of mental health issues, you go, all right, you've got mental health issues. This one, as strange as it is, there's a large part of you that's like, no, you fucking don't. Like, don't you need people around you to push you and to help get you there and stuff.
Yeah. Oh, it could not agree more.
You're fighting yourself, which is so odd.
Yeah.
You know, with something that is bad. I don't want to say just as bad or worse or anything than cancer, but it is bad as well. Your body is fighting. Oh, it's, you know, you want to get yourself better, but sometimes you just can't get off the fucking couch.
Yeah.
Or you can't, you know that these things that you should do, but you just can't.
Yeah. And look, and as I said, like, I will revert back to talking about cancer. Like, I've never had it. I've known people who've had it and unfortunately have passed away from it. I'm not saying it's a good disease, but like when I was asked and went and got, not so much asked, my mum had recognised I had an issue. I was age 9. Like, if they had said to my mum, you're in for about 15 years. In the next 15 years, we should figure out what your son has.
Yeah.
Like, imagine that. Like, yes, or like you go in, I'll go have some x-rays. We found a lump. You have cancer. This is what we're going to do. In a 6 to 8 week process, I believe there should be some medical results on what to do. But with a mental health, like mine, since 15 years to find somewhat normality, but still in that 15 years trying to live whilst you were getting to that normality. Like, it's just...
And everyone else around you. Like, yeah.
Yes. So, yeah.
You've done a... It's phenomenal, man. As I said, I've always looked at like what you've created, like business-wise and stuff, and what you achieve and your attitude, all that sort of stuff. And I've always really, really admired it. Like, it's all, it's until actually the other day that T-Man sent me a video of you on him on a porta plant digger. He come over and I was like, whose digger was that? He's like, porta plant. I was like, I'll fucking talk to him about that. But no. But I've always admired what you've done, mate. I think it's phenomenal, and just to see, I suppose, behind the, what you've been, what's been ripping at you, why you've been building, all of that is like, it is nothing short of phenomenal.
Yeah, well, yeah, no, and yeah, thank you. But obviously, once again, here on my first offence is trying to play the positive words. But yeah, it's just, I suppose it's the card I've been dealt with with life. I either deal with it and do something, or I let it get the better of me, and I know the steps of it getting the better of me would not be nice. So yeah, it is a constant grind. But the one thing I will say about dealing with what I have is, I suppose it has helped a lot of decision making without rational decisions like most people have. But a lot of my decision making I think so much about, and that's purely because of the years of living through what I've had. Is like, I'm always thinking about what can happen and what won't happen before I jump in and do something, rather than a person, I suppose, who doesn't have a very mental conscious brain and it's just pinging 24/7. They might just go and think, oh, yep, I'm going to go do that tomorrow. But with living with mental health is like, I'm thinking about stuff that helps me make that decision, rather than... So that's probably the only positive I can draw from my mental health is... It has made me think, and I do think so much about so many things. Like, now I'm running a business. I say to my friends and stuff, oh, geez, I'm a little bit tired. I don't think I'm going to come around for a beer tonight. I'm sure they're thinking, well, you haven't physically worked for the last 2-3 weeks.
That's the easy shit.
Yeah.
But
the difference between physical exhaustion and mental exhaustion, there's no way to describe it. Like sometimes I think, why am I so tired? And it's like but it's just my brain hasn't stopped in the last 16, 20 hours, 24, 48 hours of processing an issue I have had is why I'm so tired. Like it just draws and saps every last bit of energy out of you. And that's probably, right now, that's probably the hardest thing is what I have is being so mentally drained and having nothing left. Like, unfortunately, and this is what my wife, God bless her, does such an amazing job for me and our family. But like, there's a couple of things she said. I have an appointment in 4 or 5 days. Yep, sure. Mentally, a person should sink that in and either automatically write a note, like Lauren has an appointment, it's on such a date. But when you're mentally so full, there's nothing else that can get in. So there's so many things that you just miss, like, and then an hour before the appointment, you're right to look after the kids. I've got to go to this appointment. I'm not sure what appointment you're talking about. She's like, but I told you 4 or 5 days ago. I'm like, right, I do remember that now. But when you told me, I was so full of all of this information of this problem I'm trying to solve. I just couldn't fit that last little bit of information in.
I get like that.
Like,
I get like that, and I put stuff in my calendar. So, like, of things I got to do, and then that starts to get full up, and I think, oh no, I need something that's got like more like weight than just checking my calendar. So then I start setting alarms.
Yeah.
But then I see sometimes I'll put like things in there that to normal people I feel would be descriptive enough. But I'll look like before we started doing this, and that was my alarm going off. Yep. It was Timmy Concrete.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is, most people said, oh yeah, I can relay that back to it. But I just got so much going on. What the fucking Timmy Concrete? Yeah. Like, am I pulling up concrete? Am I putting it down? Which Tim? Like,
yeah.
It just, yeah.
Yeah, but and I suppose on the other side for me is like my mental drive, my want to succeed, my want to succeed in business, my want to set up my kids with a prosperous financial future is I've got my brain so instilled that I can remember what I need to do tomorrow in a week's time for work. I don't need to make notes for that.
Yeah.
But the other stuff that is just as important, but it's not where my drive and my want is I need to make notes for that. It's sort of, as I said, it's very hard to get out what I'm trying to say, but once you are fixated on something and once you want something to succeed and once you want to prove everyone wrong, you put your whole entire effort into that. You just are focused and focused and focused, and there's nothing that can weigh your focus from it. Like, everyone says, oh geez, why don't you just go take a holiday? But to me, taking a holiday is running away from the problem. I'm here living. I need to get this fixed, and this fixed. So this fixed and this works. Rah. It's again, it just draws back to what I have gone through and how I cope. Yeah.
It's a very, very interesting. It's just like, how everyone thinks about things differently and the shit that we all go through, and it's crazy. And then we're all here in the same place, trying to get along,
yes, definitely.
Well, that's. Have you got anything that you'd like to?
No.
Anything else to jot in, man? You think we've covered it all pretty well?
As I said, I do. Yeah, I believe I've covered it. There's probably so many more words that I could say that would have portrayed my story, but yeah, I just wanted to say my main objective of this was to if there is anyone else out there that is listening to this, that the few words that I've said is somewhat normal to them, I hope that helps, and I hope that makes you understand that you're not the only person who has that. There is other people that are dealing with it. So that was my main goal for today, and I finally reached the point, and finally I somewhat would say had the balls to put myself out there to help others. If there's anything like I've said in what we just spoke about, that you are going through it is normal. What I would class what I have is not normal, but if I know there's other people that have what I have, so to me that is still a normal thing because other people have it. So don't be afraid. Don't let it get the better of you. Just talk about it. Reach out to someone. Go and have a chat to someone. And if answer one's not the issue, like myself, 15, 16 years, 4 or 5 different doctors, 8 to 12 different medications, there will be something.
Perseverance.
You will get through it. But it does come down to the want. If you want to get through it, you will get through it. If you don't, and you want the easy way out, unfortunately, the answer is you won't deal with what you have. But if you want to get better, if you want to fulfill a normal life, there is things that will help you along that way. Yeah.
It's amazing, dude. Well, again, thank you for reaching out and trusting me to I suppose tell your to have a platform to tell your story, sort of thing, man. It's
But thank you. Yeah, and that's probably the only thing I wanted to say was thank you for actually wanting to speak to
that's all right, man.
Wanting to speak to normal people, and wanting to get just wanting to have a chat about things, and being so open that someone like myself can come to you. I often have thought, well, how can I give back? But there's no platform that I'm aware of where a mental health person can give back and help. There's just nothing. So I hope that there's a person who listens to this who unfortunately has a mental health that it has helped. So thank you for that too.
No worries at all, man. Thank you very much.
Awesome.
Fucking hell, how'd that go for you?
Yeah, as I said,
You're always... Fuck, that was... Dude, you've got a fucking crazy story, man.
Yeah, I don't know. I did... In my head, I knew exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
But...
I'll just say this while we're talking.
Getting those words out is so much harder than what I thought.
I mean, I guarantee you, and you'll drive off and you'll be thinking, fuck, I forgot that. I should have said this.
And that's why I tried to make as many notes as I could, and I did touch on all of my notes, but...
It's even worse when where's export? Where's that fucking button? Export to my computer. Hang on a sec, episode... No, not Otis Caldwell. You're not Otis Caldwell. Podcast. Let's put it there. Access podcast. Export. Sweet, I always get fucking paranoid. I'm always like, I'm gonna lose it, I'm gonna lose it. So I've got to... But, dude, I fucking all the time.